Hello everyone, Meteorologist Carly Smith here. Thank you for joining this live update. Make sure you post any of the questions that you might have. We're going to be talking about our storm risk. Hello Carmen, Victoria. It's so good to see everybody joining in and being prepared for the weather ahead. Granted, our storm opportunity isn't the most impressive thing I've ever seen, but there is a chance and it is something you should know about. So we're going to talk about it right now as we speak. So first, what we have going on is cloud coverage. So we're seeing some clouds. The more clouds we see throughout the day today, actually, the better at limiting our storm chance. You never really want to see clear skies and lots of heat and sunshine before you see those thunderstorms moving in, because what those clear skies do is it enhances our convective available potential energy ahead of storms. So essentially we see that going up later on this afternoon. Granted, if you look at the color table at the top of this graphic, right, it says low is the blue and greens and high is red, and we don't see any of that high, but we do have some storm energy that can lead to stronger updrafts, which leads to lightning. Additionally, it leads to the chance for some hail developing if we get those updrafts high enough in the atmosphere. And the more hail or ice crystals that we have in a storm, the better our lightning chances are as well. So we see the front move through by 8 a.m. and our rain chances go down to nothing. We lose all, well, some Cape tries to sneak in Saturday or Sunday evening, which is interesting. Anyway, we lose our convective available potential energy, our storm energy, once the front passes through, because, well, we're going to be too dry. Our dew point and our temperature are going to be so far apart. I want to be further apart than what you're seeing on your screen, that it will be impossible for a storm to develop. And that has a lot to do with the dry northwest winds that will follow the front. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of this forecast, right? So we've got a severe risk, isolated storms. That's tonight. The timeline, here's the timeline. That's going to be really between 9 p.m. I have like an isolated chance through 7, 8 o'clock, but 9 p.m. we start to see the storm chances going up. Really about 9 p.m. through, I would say 8 a.m. 9 p.m. through 8 a.m. The greatest time for some rain or a thunderstorm in Corpus Christi looks like it will be that after midnight time frame. So midnight till about 5 a.m., but the cold front may not arrive till closer to 7 a.m., so we still have a chance for a few showers as that front is passing through. So let's go back to our severe weather outlook. So what you're seeing on this map is the yellow. The yellow is encompassing San Antonio. Let's see, let's zoom in and see what other cities. Austin, San Angelo, Del Rio, Abilene, almost Wichita Falls. So that would be like Graham is in that Stephenville and the Dallas, almost the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex area. Austin is in the yellow, Gonzales, Carson City. All of these areas are in the yellow. What does that mean? Well, yellow is a slight level 2 risk of severe weather. So that's one step above the coastal bend. That means that there's going to be more storms in that yellow area. So that leads to a greater risk of one of those storms, or 2 or 3 or 4. It's more of an isolated to not widespread, an isolated to scattered risk of severe thunderstorms, versus in the green, it's isolated, which means there may be one severe thunderstorm in all of the green, right? So that limits our risk, but it's still there. 60-mile-per-hour wind gust, 1-inch hailstones, and the tornado risk isn't 0, but it is very low. So when we break down those threats, ranking them very low to low, medium, high, lightning is something we're likely going to see. I don't see the storms having a ton of lightning through the coastal bend, but we will likely see it. I put that at a medium chance, medium for heavy rain, high winds, lightning, hail, very low tornado risk, and a low flooding risk. Yes, we see the chance for some heavy rain, but it doesn't look like it's really going to be all over one specific spot, leading to that kind of flash flooding risk or any big time flooding risk. So Next, we'll to break down futurecasts, and then I'll look at some of your questions. So here's where that front it was this morning. It's got to make its way all the way across New Mexico. I think there is going to be a little bit of a dry line that tries to set up, which would fire off some storms out ahead of the front. Those storms will then race out ahead of the front, and that's what we're going to see first. Now, the further away these storms get from the front, they may weaken, but they also can create their own kind of boost in the atmosphere. Once they line up, they kind of fuel each other a little bit. And so the good news is, right at the beginning, we have those individualized cells. That's when they would be the most dangerous. So as they're passing through San Antonio, that would be a higher end risk of severe weather through there. So while the storms are individualized, it's a higher tornado risk as well, and that's going to be right around 8 o'clock. So I want to get rid of the up close camera view right this second. So, but then you see the storms kind of merging together. So once they kind of bow out into a line, there's going to be the main forcing that pushes it more toward Victoria than necessarily the coastal bend. Now, what would give us storms is the outflow boundary, creating storms on the southern end of this line of storms. But once it becomes a line, it becomes more of a wind threat with the 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts versus the hail and the tornado threat. It's still there in a line, but it's much greater when the storms are individualized like they are here, 8 o'clock approaching San Antonio. Then as they're moving through San Antonio and toward Victoria, we're likely going to see more of a wind threat, which is common as the storms develop. They tend to kind of line out or bow out is what we call it, especially with this type of setup and pattern. And additionally, overnight, you lose the storm energy that is kind of necessary for supercell thunderstorms to develop. So then we could see a secondary. So what this might do is leave some outflow boundaries behind that then could fire up some more storms that pass through. I don't know. It's hard to say San Antonio gets this exact play going on because this first round is going to weaken the atmosphere out ahead of that cold front, right? So I would say this line might set up a little further south, but it's looking pretty strong actually. So anyway, what you definitely need to know, I'm thinking out loud while I'm analyzing this, what you need to know is San Antonio's at risk for some strong, potentially severe storms around 8 to 10 o'clock. Then that risk shifts toward Victoria. Now, our counties, Duval, maybe not Duval, but McMullen, Live Oak, B County, 9, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. You have a chance of seeing activity from this first round. Then a few storms develop on the lower end of this line as we head into the overnight hours. So by overnight, I mean after midnight. So Corpus Christi, these don't look strong or severe to me, but they will be in an area of high convective available potential energy with nightfall. We may see some of that energy weaken due to something known as SIN, convective inhibition. But regardless, what you see happening is we see a chance for some storms with round one around midnight to 4 a.m. Then the cold front moves through B County, Live Oak County as early as 3 a.m. and then through the rest of the coastal bend by 7, 8 a.m. And once that front moves through, we've got clear skies, sunshine, beautiful weather behind the front. So early on, a little windy, and then the front passes through. By 10 a.m., we're sunny and we're gorgeous and we're having a great Saturday. However, Sunday, the wind ramps up. Remember that. So Sunday, look at that. Sustained winds, 23 miles per hour. So 23 mile per hour sustained wind, that can cause some problems for fire danger, especially because this is a northwest wind. And that northwest wind is really dry and humid. So I can break that down into more information if we want. Hey, Groundhog Day, everybody. It was cloudy, in case you missed that. So the groundhog saw a shadow, and Petronilla Pete did too. So, or didn't see this shadow. I said that backwards. No shadow, so early spring, in case you missed that update. but I'm gonna leave this on our weekend forecast the next 3 days, and I'm gonna check out your questions. Are we getting rain tonight? Yes, it will be scattered to numerous, Deborah, but that timeline is after 9 p.m. Better opportunity after midnight for Corpus Christi. Terry says we need the rain. Will it be running weather tomorrow morning after the front passes through? Yeah, it's going to be great. How much rain is Corpus getting? Okay, so we'll answer Lupe's question, and then we'll go to Josie's question. So rain is going to be... So most of the area will see around 1/10 of an inch or less, but isolated areas may see more rain. And so I'm gonna close the Pennsylvania graphic. Okay, isolated areas may see more rain. And so here's what I mean by that. This is the graphic or the model I've been showing a lot, but I wanna look at the other one because it has more rain moving through Corpus. Okay, so yeah, this is a pretty accurate representation. So you saw most of the rain moving from San Antonio to Houston. We are on the tail end of this severe weather event. And by the tail end, I mean the weaker end. There's a chance if it shifts a little bit further south, if the cold front moves a little bit faster, all of that pink and purple could shift south and wind up over us. However, the latest data is indicating that it does stay north. That's why SPC has the yellow, that slight risk, just barely encompassing portions of Live Oak County and into McMullen County, and keeps that slight risk closer to San Antonio because that does look like where the forcing is going to be. And a lot of that has to do with where the dry line and the cold front set up. And that looks like it would be near Del Rio. And then those storms are going to move from the southeast or the southwest to the northeast a bit. So there's not going to be a ton of activity developing too far south once that happens because they will be moving a bit to the northeast, right? So for Corpus Christi, if we see those isolated showers develop on the tail end of those lines developing through, then we definitely could see more rain. But for most of us, it's looking like around 1/10 of an inch. Again, it's scattered across the region, scattered to numerous out there. And for areas that see some of the heavier downpours, 1 inch of rain is going to be possible for the majority of the region. We're talking 1/4 of an inch of rain. Where that line of strong to severe thunderstorms sets up, they're talking 1, 2, possibly up to 3 inches of rain between San Antonio and Houston. Let's look at the other model while we're at it. So this model is similar, but a little bit on the lighter rain side. So that has more areas closer to San Antonio, around 1 inch of rain or so. Houston, could see up to 2 inches of rain, but the line, that cutoff line, is still kind of northern live Bee County through Victoria, right? So we're still in the lower end of this risk, and that's kind of been the trend all morning as well, and even into yesterday. So I don't see it shifting south, but just be warned that if it does, if that front moves faster than expected, then we could wind up with a little bit more activity in the coastal bend. So Orange Grove being a little bit further north, you could wind up seeing some of those stronger storms, but I think Beeville and Refugio and possibly George West, Rockport, Sinton, those cities and surrounding cities near those, that's where I think the heavier rain could be. Orange Grove, I think you'll be lucky to get 1/10 of an inch, but of course an isolated storm could produce more. So again, the timeline, here's the timeline. So 9 p.m. all the way through 7 a.m. 9 p.m., 7 a.m. That's what we're looking at. Yeah, North Bee County has the best shot at getting one of those strong to severe thunderstorms when we take a look at the future cast. Here it is. So I would say be on alert after 9 p.m. through about 11 p.m. 9 p.m. through 11 p.m. and then again for northern Bee County from 3 a.m. till about 5 a.m. Of course, Valerie, I hope this is helpful. For sure. I will be posting even more information on the website throughout the morning. Saturday morning at 8 a.m. So 8 a.m., the front should be through by 8 a.m. for Portland, I would think. If anything, there could be a delay, but once the front passes through, then we won't be dealing with any real type of precipitation in the region. So we might still have some westerly winds. So this model is a little bit slower, but the one I've really been sticking with is this one. So that has it through Portland by 8 a.m. If the winds are out of the north at all, then you're going to be good to go. For sure. Once the front is to our south and we've got north winds, northwest winds, then we're going to be in great shape. Straight line winds are they are always in play with any type of thunderstorm, because what happens is if you get an updraft, there's a lot of energy and air being hoisted up in the updraft, and that has to go down at some point. And so that's kind of how you get some strong wind gusts, especially as if that storm creates or kind of collapses on itself. Sometimes you get those downbursts that can happen. I don't necessarily see that in the forecast, but anytime there's a thunderstorm, you have the possibility of that storm, that anytime there's a thunderstorm with an updraft and a downdraft, that downdraft is producing colder air into warmer air, and then that creates kind of its own mini cold front essentially, and that is where you get your strong straight line winds is coming out of the storm that way essentially. So pretty crazy, but also fascinating and cool at the same time. So any plans on Saturday are in great shape. It's tonight, closer to midnight for Corpus Christi, but anytime after 9 p.m. So if you do have plans to head to Art Walk, where is that graphic? So if you have plans to head to Art Walk, before 9 p.m. you're in great shape. Even for Corpus Christi, I think we're pretty safe until about 11 p.m. That's when I would be on alert. So our storm risk obviously goes up closer to midnight. Then at 6 p.m. we're in great shape at 6 p.m. The sunset is at 6:11. So I think that's going to be it for this Facebook update. Also, don't forget how strong the winds are. Let's look at our wind gust. I said it's it. We got one more thing. Stick around. Let's look at the wind gust. So what you see is today we're going to get some 30-mile-per-hour wind gusts this afternoon, onshore wind. That would be at play during Art Walk. We have some gusty wind. That always makes it cooler downtown, and especially this time of year. And also just, yeah, be prepared for that. Things could be blowing around at Art Walk. So if you're eating something, watch those napkins, things like that. Heading into the overnight hours, our wind gusts are going to be associated with any thunderstorms in the area. So most of our thunderstorms, based on the forecast model, producing around 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts, which is not severe, but up to 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts are going to be possible. Here's the cold front passing through Saturday morning. This must move with the time. So the way our graphics work is if you don't set a start time, then you're going to be in trouble. And by in trouble, I mean your cold front's not going to match the forecast anymore. So we'll just move this a few hours forward. Maybe we should just get rid of it. Okay, anyway, the cold front is moving through right here, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m. So we're in great shape. Then what we see going on is going to be fairly light winds, honestly, on Saturday. But Sunday, that low strengthens as it digs south and into the southeast. And that's going to intensify our wind heading into Sunday, late morning. So Sunday around 9, 10 a.m., we're starting to see 40-mile-per-hour wind gusts. Then we could see 40 to 50-mile-per-hour wind gusts around lunchtime. So this is your Sunday morning church forecast. Wind will be an issue, so skirt alert. And I also mentioned humidity, which I haven't looked at, but we can. Let's see if this is a model that I can get to go that far out. Yeah, it's the IBM in-house model. So we're gonna make this go through Sunday. So watch what happens. Okay, so this is our front moving through where the little arrows are shifting direction, right? So we're still pretty humid initially behind the front, but by Saturday afternoon, our humidity drops to 30%, and then Sunday, look at this. So Sunday by 9 a.m., our humidity is under 30%. Once our humidity drops below 30%, especially along the coast, we really start to see fire danger enhance because there's not moisture to help fight those fires in our atmosphere. It's dry conditions, dry grasses, just being in wintertime. Thankfully, our soil moisture is high, so that will help us in our fire danger forecast, but the humidity is going to be very low for us here in the coastal bend. Like, be ready with the lotion Sunday. Additionally, the wind, always a big problem, especially when it's out of the northwest and when it's sustained above 20 miles per hour. So all of these things, dew points below 30% and into the teens in the brush country, and those dry northwest winds on the gusty side is going to lead to high fire danger. Additionally, the strong winds will likely lead to some marine warnings being issued as well, so keep an eye on that. But here's that wind gust forecast for the same time. You see it, 40, I wouldn't rule out a 50-mile-per-hour wind gust. Then it does start to decrease heading into Sunday afternoon. So Sunday, late morning into the early afternoon, the greatest wind threat. These are not temperatures, Diego. This is 35. Wait, when would... Oh, I-35 or 37 going to San Antonio be getting rain. So that's tonight. So tonight, it's going to be, I mean, you really would want to be in San Antonio before 7 p.m., but also that's when the storms pass through. So 7 p.m. is when the northern end of I-37 has storms. It may kind of miss the southern half, but we'll see some spotty showers and isolated thunderstorms. Then as the cold front moves through, so really any time between 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. there's a chance for rain along Interstate 37. Also, Interstate 37 is under that slight risk of severe thunderstorms, especially during this time right here, 10 p.m. So I would definitely avoid driving towards San Antonio between 7 p.m. and midnight tonight, just because of that first round of strong to severe storms. And then additionally, when the cold front passes through, which for San Antonio looks to be, well, after midnight through about 4 a.m., and then it's moving through the coastal bend 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. So if you're traveling to San Antonio, tomorrow morning would be the best time to do it, or right now, before we get into the dinner hour. So that's my best advice. Of course, it is going to be spotty. You're not always going to be under downpours, but with that being said, some of these storms could be strong to severe and blow cars around. I mean, it has to get over 60 miles per hour to really do that, but hail is a possibility as well. You don't really want to be driving in that, as well as a low tornado risk, higher risk towards San Antonio tonight. All right, that is now officially going to be it. So we'll leave you on the 7-day and have a happy, wonderful weekend, y'all.